Welcome to Hub City Now with your host, Tyrone Tony Reed.
Hello and welcome to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. And today we have with us Tamala Vaughan, who is the pastor of theater. She owns Joyfull Productions and Performing Arts. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You are originally from Washington, D.C., but you've lived in Jackson, Tennessee for 18 years.
Right.
What brought you to Jackson?
Long story or short story?
Short story.
My mom originally was from Humboldt.
Oh, okay.
And she met my dad, who was an evangelist,
Mm-hmm.
and they got married in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling my age. Moved to Washington, D.C., and had a pastor. My father pastored a church there. So.
And your mom was the piano player,
She was the
right?
piano player, yes.
So is that how you got your start? Because I'm jumping ahead of myself. She's a singer. I should have done that first. She's a singer. She just released her first album, I Want to Know You, with 10 great tracks. I'm going to tell her what my favorite tracks are later on in the show that really spoke to me. She's a playwright. She has put on several productions. She's a songwriter. She's written music for people and famous celebrities. She didn't want me to mention this, but she's been in the Jackson-Madison County school system too. She's done some things in there. Goodness. Let me look back at the bio that she sent me, because I thought my bio, I thought I had done some stuff, but I ain't done nothing. She's also a comedian. She has Sista Truesdale.
Sista Truesdale.
Which she goes around and brings joy to a lot of people. Her aspiration is to be used by God however he chooses, and to use every single gift he has placed in her life for his glory. I like that. Before I even move on any further, what we like to do on this show is we like to encourage and inspire people to be their best selves. You got your start pretty much like a lot of celebrities in the church, singing in the church. I know Whitney, a lot of people have gotten their start in church. But what you said about God and using your gifts, I always remember this famous story where somebody says, imagine that you're an old person and you're about to pass away, and you're laying in your bed and all your dreams are around you, and you ask them, who are you? And they say, we are the things that you could have accomplished if you had just tried. And now, because you're dying, we're going to die with you.
Wow.
That gets me. Wow. It's like, man, I got everything that God gave me. I got to get it out of me, because he put it in me for a reason. So I got to get it out of me. When did you know, or how did you know, or when did you start knowing what you were called to do?
Well, Tony, the crossroads or the turning point for my life, well, I always sung. I've been singing since I was 4 years old. But the other creative gifts came out when my mom passed.
Okay, that was 2002.
2002.
Okay.
And, I wanted to grieve, but then all of this creativity was trying to come out. And I'm thinking, what is this? I also owned a shop, and I would decorate the windows so well, just doing what I thought looked well.
What was the name of that?
It was called the Perfected Pecan.
The Perfected Pecan, okay.
And it was perfect. And people would come by just to see the shop. And they were like, oh, it's decorated so nice. I'm thinking, okay. And then the comedy. And Sista Truesdale came out of, I did a gospel stage play here with one of the ministers. And I wanted to always act. I did a little acting, but to really be featured was the thing. And the day of the performance, I almost gave up. I had butterflies so bad. Right. And God, I had to talk with him. And he said, if you don't do it now, you'll never do it.
Right.
And that made me to realize that sometimes, Satan will have you so fearful and so embarrassed. Not so much embarrassed, but you're shy. Shyness is an enemy.
Right, exactly.
Shyness is an enemy. Right. And bashfulness. And so those things, I said, okay, I'll just do it afraid. I'll do it afraid.
Exactly.
And after the show, I went to change, and someone said, Tamala, you have a line of people waiting for you. And I'm thinking, really? And there was a line of people, and that was my turning point as far as acting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
10 years ago, yes.
You talked about fear. You've done a lot since that production. Does fear still come around?
Oh, yes. I mean,
and how do you deal with it? I know a lot of young people have ideas. They you were telling me about your daughter earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, a lot of people fall into certain categories. Some people think I'm too young,
mm-hmm.
I'm too old,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got enough money.
Don't let that stop you.
Don't let that stop you.
Don't let that stop you.
And that's what I was gonna say. What advice would you give somebody who has, like you said, that creativity? They have it inside of them. They feel it. There's something that God has called me to do. There's something that I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Am I too young to do this? What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I would say many people, as you know, are trying to find out what they were put on earth for.
Mm-hmm.
What is my calling? What am I supposed to be doing?
Right.
First, I would say seek God.
Right.
That's the first thing. Have a relationship with him every day.
Mm-hmm.
Read your word.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was encouraging someone a couple of days ago that was actually dealing with fear.
Okay.
They were afraid, so afraid because of a situation their son is in the service. But I said, look, you have to bombard your spirit with the word of God.
Right.
Just bombard it. Get all the scriptures about fear.
Right.
But get in the word of God because it's an organism. It's a living organism. It is Jesus.
Right.
The word says that in the beginning was the word, and the
the
word was
God.
with God, and the word was.
Right.
So if he was, he still is.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's
So
true.
it is an organism. So I was telling her that it's impossible for life and death to be happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So the word of God is life-giving, is life, is living.
Right.
You're putting that in your spirit.
Right.
And sometimes we try to bring God down to a natural man's way, but we can't.
Because we can't figure him out.
We can't figure him out. So just get in the word like he said.
Right.
You don't have to try to have a competition and read a whole lot of scriptures. Just meditate a verse or two.
Right.
Roll it over in your mind. And just from being obedient, God will start bringing up something else.
That's true. That's
and
true.
in your life
that's true.
that maybe he put a thought in and you didn't know it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're thinking, well, maybe I should go do that. Follow that.
Right.
Sometimes we want, we're in this world of instant everything.
Gratification. Yeah.
Right.
Instant
Microwave.
Instant oatmeal. And
Everything instant. And then we're into theatrics, which I am, but we want God to just boom a voice down from heaven.
Right.
But
It's not always
still
like that.
small voice.
Right.
And so sometimes God's always talking. It's just like a radio station.
Right.
You just got to tune into the right
you
frequency.
Gotta listen, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And now in the day and age that we live in, we have all this technology and stuff. It's so loud. Everything's so loud. And there's so many distractions.
So many.
That's trying to take our mind and attention away from what God is trying to say.
Exactly.
We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk more with Tamala Vaughan. And we're gonna talk about her CD, I Want to Know You. We'll be right back in just a moment. Hello and welcome back to Hub City Now. We are back with Tamala Vaughan, who is the pastor of theater for Joyfull Productions and Performing Arts. We're going to talk about her new CD, I Want to Know You, which she just released. When did you release?
This past August.
Oh, okay.
August 2017.
It has 10 tracks. Tell us a little bit about your CD. What was the inspiration behind I Want to Know You?
The inspiration for one was my mom.
Okay.
She was my biggest cheerleader, and I wish I had done this before. So kind of almost to the question you asked me earlier, don't stop, don't wait. Do what you got to do.
Right.
Because time waits for no one.
It does.
Do it. And so my mom and God, my relationship with him, and some of the songs came from that secret time with him, that quiet time with him. One of them is my favorite. Well, a lot of them, they're all my favorite. But one of my special favorites is track number 5, God, Thou Art My God. It's from Psalm 63.
Okay.
And when I look at it, it's a song. As I was looking at it that day, it's just the melody. I'm like, this must be how God had intended for it to be back then when David wrote this, because now I cannot just read it. It is a song.
Right.
So, yeah, just that quiet time with him, and melodies, they just flow. They just flow.
Well, two of the ones that really spoke to me were Fill Me Up
Right.
and Move Spirit Move. That reminded me of just being back in my old church and listening to, just a worship song, just get on your knees and just close your eyes and just invite God to come in and move in your life.
Wow,
That very, very powerful.
Wow,
powerful.
Thank you.
And your CD can be found anywhere?
All digital outlets.
Okay.
So they're on Amazon Music,
Okay.
iTunes, CD Baby, everything.
Okay.
I can't even list them all.
How long did it take for you to from beginning to end?
Woo. How long is your show?
And how many songs did you originally have for your CD? Were there just 10 tracks, or did you have like a bunch of tracks that you had to pick from?
Let's see. I had pretty much these for the CD.
Okay.
I have a lot of songs, but to kind of tighten it, and I kind of really got
Focus
into these.
on those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, these here, and it's been a long time coming.
Okay.
It's been a long time. My mom passed in 2002, so we're talking. I don't know if I had shared with you in 2002. I don't know. Well, you're not from here, but there was a man here. He had African-American man, Bobby Lee. He had a newspaper called the Metro Forum.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Well, Metro Forum, I believe, became the West Tennessee Examiner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And he would have a annual gala where he would have different,
My wife and I were just talking about that.
Really? Well, I was the featured artist in 2002.
Oh, okay.
And my mom passed the week before.
Wow.
And so, I wanted her, I felt like, oh, it's getting ready to happen, Mom. It's getting ready to happen. And she passed, and I still had to perform.
Right.
I still had to perform.
How did you do that? What was that like for you?
That was hard. I don't want to start crying.
Right,
but
right.
It was hard, but I did it. In Jesus' name, I did it. And that wasn't my time then.
Right.
I thought it was, and here it is now in 2017. And, it was some trials. It was some error. It was some grieving. It was a lot of things.
Right.
But I didn't give up. That's the main thing.
Right.
That I want to encourage people. Don't give up.
Right.
And
I understand that because the Lord gave me the idea for SOLAD, Soldiers Light Against Darkness, my senior year in high school, which was in 2000. So from 2000 on to 2011, I kind of played around with it. I pick it up, write a little bit, come back to it. It's like, I really got to get this done. I really got to get this done. And it wasn't until I left the Jackson Sun in 2009 that, I was like totally devoted to it. Like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I went to Ohio for a workshop. Going in there with big ideas. So, I'm gonna turn this into a TV show. It's gonna be a movie. I'm gonna have lunchboxes, action figures, clothes, everything. And this guy told me, one of the speakers there told me, well, don't worry about that. The publishers will take care of that. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, you'll get 10% from whatever the book makes. Your agent will get 20, and the rest will go to the publishers. And I'm like, you mean I put 100% in this, and all I'm getting out of is 10%? So I was pretty zoned out for the rest of the day. And when I got back to the hotel room where my wife was studying and waiting for me, she said, what's wrong? What is it? And I said, I'm not going to be able to do this the traditional way. I said, I'm going to have to self-publish. And so that just started a long journey up to, like you said, it wasn't time then.
You're right.
But it's going to happen.
Exactly.
And as long as I keep going, then I know it'll happen. Tell us a little bit about your plays. What started you in the playwright?
Okay.
As a playwright.
Let's see. 2015. I went to Mexico, and the first night I had a dream. I'm not going to get into the details, but God gave me a dream that when I woke up, I could still feel it.
Right.
The essence of who I was, and I wrote it down. And basically it pointed to me doing theater.
Okay.
In my dream was Tyler Perry. I've never dreamed about him. I love him. I love his plays.
Right.
Have all of them. I believe my daughter makes sure I'm supplied. Her name is Kayla. And but never, and I guess I'll go ahead and share. And so we're sitting there, and this choir was before us, and they were singing, rocking, and the words to their song was, "Lord, we've killed your babies. Now give us more children today." And I could sing it, but I'm not going to do it. But and I thought, what does that mean?
Right.
And just God sent people to me to let me know, Tamara, you're supposed to be doing plays. You're supposed to be, and I'm thinking, and I also learned, about interpreting dreams, what's represented. Well, Tyler Perry represents plays. And I thought, okay. And then the children, so I know I'm supposed to be at least working with children also, and that's coming. And what you were saying earlier about, when you went into the to the convention that you wanted, it's going to be books, it's going to be T-shirts, it's going to be this. Sometimes as creative artists, we get overwhelmed because I believe God shows us everything that can happen, but we have to take it step by step.
Right.
And sometimes He'll give us the end.
and not show us what we got to go through in order to get to it. Because if we did,
we give up.
Yeah, like
so that was a process, and so with the plays we got started, and so in 2015 I got a crew of awesome cast of people together, and we practiced for about 3 months, and we did our first play called Separation of Church and Church at the NED, and we also did it at Liberty High School, and that was awesome. That was awesome.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the plays of Tamala Vaughan, and we're going to remind you of where you can get her new CD and also where you can keep up to date with what she has in the future, some of the projects she has coming up soon. So we'll be right back in just a moment. Hello and welcome back to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr., and we are wrapping up our wonderful, inspirational interview with Tamala Vaughan, who is the pastor of theater for Joyfull Productions and Performing Arts. We were talking about your productions. I want to talk about Sista Truesdale.
Sista Truesdale.
Where does she come from, and what does she do?
Sista Truesdale is we call her the religious church lady. She tells it like it TIST. But it's a healing ministry, and because the Bible talks about that. Medicine, laughter is medicine.
Does the heart, yeah.
And so that is my purpose with Sista Truesdale, and I dress up in the costume, and I've been busy almost every weekend, but it brings joy to a lot of people. I've had people to come up to me to say they were healed while they were laughing.
That's awesome. And
one of the most profound testimonies, and this was from about 10 years ago, a lady came up to me at a women's conference, and she said, "That's the first time I've laughed since I've been saved."
Wow.
And I thought, whoa.
You ain't, something's not good.
Because some Christians don't believe you can have joy in God, but you can.
Right.
And that's what Sista Truesdale's about, to let them know you can laugh and you better laugh.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, before we end, what advice do you have to anyone who's thinking about going into the creative field, who has ideas that they want to get out there, especially young people? Many times they're told what they can't do.
Right.
They're not told what they can do. What advice do you have for them?
My advice is to never give up, to keep going. Don't let other people's limitations be your limitations.
Right.
Just because they say they can't do it, they're really reflecting what's on the inside of them. So don't take ownership of that.
Right.
Keep God as the center, of your life, of your heart, and just keep working towards what it is that brings you joy, what your calling is. And your calling is pretty much sometimes that what you think, it's just a little hobby. It could actually be your calling.
Right.
Just keep doing what you like to do, if it's a good thing, and let God be concerned about making it big.
Right.
'Cause sometimes we can.
Yeah, we want to find out how we can make it big and
let God do
make it big and fast.
let God do it, and just success is work. That's what it is.
That's true.
There's no. We said there was no overnight success.
It's not over.
It's work.
Right.
It's work, and I learned that doing my plays. I was up 2:00 in the morning. You can relate to that because you're right.
Yeah.
And it's not a bother.
Right.
But I started listening to people. Girl, you need to get some rest. Go to bed. And I started doing that. I'm like, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
So sometimes as being creative or just trying to be successful or doing what it is you've called to do, sometimes you can't sleep.
That's true. Yeah, it'll keep you up. It'll
Yeah.
keep you up until you write it down or do whatever you
Exactly.
need to do.
And you'll find that you don't really need a lot of sleep because you're so moved and motivated by your calling.
That's right.
So I would just say just continue doing what it is you love. Just try to minimize distractions and
get around like-minded people.
Exactly.
Because sometimes that's not going to be your family because some people have done what they're going to do with their lives and they don't see any further than what they've gone through.
They judge you by what
they've done.
Uh-huh.
Right, what they've done. Oh, well, ain't nobody done that in our family.
Exactly.
Well, I'm the one.
Exactly. That's it.
Well,
and don't share everything with everyone.
That's true too. Yeah,
you know,
you can't.
Don't share everything.
Because either somebody might take your idea, or they'll do their best to shoot it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't share. Something you'll find too. Not everybody's with you.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's sad, but
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yes.
And just be smart about who you invite in your inner circle too.
True. That is true. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. You can find out more about Tamala Vaughan on her social media, Facebook. Which Facebook page?
Facebook pages, Joyfull, Joyfull Productions and Performing Arts, and also just Tamala, T like Tom, Amala, Vaughan, V like Victor, Aughan. So we have two different pages.
Okay. And we'll, of course, put a link up there on our Hub City Now Facebook page so you can go to those pages. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will have to have you on again because I've had a great time. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Baskerville Funeral Home, City of Brownsville, Nell Huntsman's Flower Box, R&R Custom Wheels and Tires Express, and Styles Menswear. Thank you all so much for tuning in every Sunday. Make sure you go out and help somebody this holiday season. This is November. There are people who are homeless. There are people who need to know that somebody loves them and cares about them. So find out what you can do. There's Salvation Army. There's Goodwill. There's a lot of different organizations who are doing different things. In fact, if you have an idea of doing something yourself, just do it. You go to the hospital or a nursing home and just take time there. I'm glad I got an extra few minutes. I just started watching Highway to Heaven with with Michael Landon, who you probably know from Little House on the Prairie and Bonanza, which I love both of those shows. But he's an angel in that. It's just like Touched by an Angel for other people who know about Touched by an Angel. But the pilot takes place in a nursing home, ironically enough. And he's there and he's talking to one of the women there, and she's complaining about how living in a nursing home is horrible because it ain't full of nothing but old people. And Michael Landon, as Jonathan the angel, tells her, well, I don't see anything wrong with that. And she says, why? He said, because a lot of people don't make it to be old. That's just so, it was just so powerful. And the show is just about him helping people and bringing them into the destiny that God has for them. And I'm enjoying watching it because I don't think I really watched it when I was growing up. I remember a scene or two from it, but just watching it as an adult and having lived a little bit of life, I can see, some of the points that he's making. So I said all that to say, go out, use this life that God has given you to help other people. It's not about you, all about you. There are people who need help. There are people who need to be loved because you never know when you might need somebody to tell you that they love you too. So you all have a great week, and we will talk to you next week, and God bless.